Good afternoon and welcome everyone to today's Thursday Live. I am Denise Armenio and I have helping me here today, Claire Mcintyre, and she is helping me as always answer some of your questions that show that you enter into the chat, and I will be looking at those as well and trying to answer them if possible while I'm doing the demonstration. And so today we have a volunteer. Assuming Vincent, you can just put in the chat if it's still, oh, okay, I see you. You just put it in the chat room. You read my mind. So yes, so we have a volunteer for today. Vincent is has been so gracious to volunteer. So thank you. We appreciate that. And I'm just going to share my screen. So just give me a second. Perfect. And then Vincent, is the spelling of your name the way it appears on your Zoom like little picture? Because I'll just take it off there, that if it is. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Okay. Yeah, it's Vincent and Cora. I don't know if it shows the same
It
way.
does. So I'm just gonna I
Oh,
think it's easier if I just copy it off here and you can tell me if I've spelt it right.
okay. Yeah,
So
you
this is
got
your legal name, correct?
correct, yes.
Awesome. And now I just need to collect your birth date.
July 20, 1982. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So are you running a trial? Are you a Genius owner? Where are you in your stage of Genius?
So I am a Genius. I've had the Genius for, let's say, when was it? Since oh my God, it's almost a year now, actually. I remember I was very curious about it because I had the Healy, so I was a Healy practitioner. And then I said, I want more control. I don't want to have this pre-configuration. I want to know more. I want to be able to dive more. So that's when I found the Genius. And there was one day I talked to Ryan, and Ryan called me out of the blue. And then we spoke, and ever since then I've been hooked.
Oh, excellent. Well, I love the Genius, and that's one of my favorite reasons for loving it so much is the control, and it's just
Yeah.
limitless on what we can do with it, right? It's just truly an amazing device.
Yes, it is.
So, okay, so now you obviously know how to use this part, but for those that don't and are watching this or will watch this on video, on replay later, this is the main page where you enter a user record. If you've already worked with the person, you would want to access their information by going to access your client records. You only need to enter the information here once, and then it will be stored as a record. And then on the bottom, you can see it says load current client results. That would be if for some reason you were in the middle of a session and either you ran out of battery on your device or the system crashed, which doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes these things happen. Or for whatever reason, you exited out, you had to get out of that session. When you come back in, you could hit load current client results, and it would be the last session you were in. You can't go back further than the last one. The other thing I would always recommend, and I just wanted to point it out to everybody, I would always hit begin a new scan and just clear the energy before you start something. Even if you're going to go into access your client records, I just think it's a good idea to always refreshen the page. I did that before we started, so I didn't just do it, but I would recommend to people that you do that. And now we can just go ahead with on the bottom right, continue with new analysis. Okay, so Vincent, tell me what you would like to work on today. As I think you probably know, because you've been on here a few times now,
Okay.
we can work on a lot of different things with the Genius, but for demo purposes and for anyone who's interested really in in working with it to see if it's going to work for them, I always recommend or suggest that you work with physical pain or some kind of emotional pain, because it makes it easier for you to measure at the end of the session if you've had a change or not. So that's why I will ask you to rate your pain, whether it's physical or emotional, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being severe. And then this way, at the end of the session, you can say, oh, if I had a pain, it was a 9 on my shoulder, and now it's a 5. You can tell that there's been a change. And I would recommend that it's how you're feeling in this moment, not if it's overall always hurts and it's a 10, or how it feels right now, because that's how you're measuring it. So what would you like to work with today?
I would like to work with mainly digestive issues. I've been having that issue since last month, mainly after I caught COVID. So after I caught the COVID, it's like, oh my God, my digestive issues just accelerated. I mean, they just, they, they kind of exacerbated. So I have a lot of acid reflux. Um, Let me see what else I could say. I
Are you
remember,
experiencing the acid reflux today?
yes, I'm experiencing it right now.
Okay, so if you could rate that on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being severe, how would you rate it?
Um, hmm, I would say like a uh, maybe a 6. 6,
Okay.
yeah. And,
What else?
let me see. Joints. So I've had back issues for a while, and that's kind of why like I'm off work at the moment. I've had a lot of, they call it stenosis of the back. So
Okay.
yeah, I have that issue going on. I know the Genius has been a godsend with that. It's like it's almost sometimes it's non-existent. So, but I want to kind of alleviate that, long term.
And what about today? Are you feeling it today?
No, no, no.
Okay, so we can kind of look
Oh,
at that, but let's
oh,
try to see where you are. I mean, acid reflux is something that hopefully we can work with, and maybe you won't, we can lessen it from where it's at today. Is there anything else that's causing you some type of either physical or emotional pain that we can look at?
um, yeah, the emotional pain. I know I've had a lot of stress this year. I My daughter is now living with me. She was living with her mom. We had kind of joint custody, but things weren't working out. So I have her now. And there's a lot of, I'm kind of having to do a lot of emotional intelligence with her. I have to kind of guide her out of an abusive situation. And so that's kind of like it took a toll on kind of both of us. And then also with this change to financial issues. So I wanted to include that. Yeah.
Okay. I'll try to get all of that in the
Thank you.
amount of time that we have. I will focus first, just to be honest and fair with you, on the
Oh,
acid reflux and
okay.
on the emotional stress. Hopefully we can create a little peace and calm within you.
Thank you.
It doesn't seem like that emotional stress is really sort of like a depression or anxiety. It's just more. So we'll see what we can do there too for you. And if we can add in a few things for some um, abundance, we will do that.
Thank you.
Okay. For anybody else who's also new to this and just watching, you can um we can click on back pain down here. I'm not sure, digestive imbalances. And then this is just so that when you come back in the next session, these things will be highlighted and you can see what you worked on. If they're non-existent anymore, obviously you could deselect them. And I always like to put the date and some of the issues I was working on. And then next time I would put the next date. This page is just simply for the user's records, and it has nothing to do with the scan. So um, just know that it doesn't have anything to do with the scan. So then you just hit begin. This is the part where you give us a little sample of your voice. So I will count you down and say 3, 2, 1, begin. And at that point, please say your full name and repeat the vowels A, E, I, O, U until this 15-second counter gets to 0. Okay,
Okay.
you ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, begin.
Vincent Anyakora. A E I O U. Vincent Anyakora. A E I O U. A E I O U. A E.
Perfect. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay. So now at the bottom, you can see bottom left, it says voice harmonics. I do suggest that you play this after every recording. It shows you how the Genius takes your spoken word and translates it into a frequency. And that frequency has benefits, healing benefits for you. It works similar to homeopathics, where like cancels out like. So it's just always a good idea just to play it. It's not very long. So here we go. Okay, so from here we hit next. I also just want to quickly point out for anybody that is using a Quanta capsule, or has a clients that are using Quanta capsule, this purple little box up top or oval, you can press that and it will automatically populate the information from the Quanta capsule. So it's really very helpful in using that. If you don't know what the Quanta capsule is, we have other videos that you can go to, or I am happy to go over that in a future Thursday live with everybody. If that's what you would like, I'm happy to do that as well. But for now, I'm just going to click next. And continue. Okay, so I am going to quickly take a screenshot of your face here
Okay.
and add it to my, oh, I'm gonna have to do that again. The chat is in front of it. Hold on. And there you are. And we can just select use up top. And then we can go right to begin analysis on the bottom. Hit continue. Okay, so now the Genius gives you the opportunity to add an energetic affirmation. So if you use affirmations during the day or during the week or month, or have something that you like to use, you can add it here. It is optional. I always like to use it though. And you just type in the affirmation that you want to use, and the Genius will translate that written text into a frequency, much like it just translated your spoken word into a frequency. So I can add the frequency that I like to use, if that's okay with you, unless you have something you would prefer.
No, you're fine. You can go ahead.
Okay, so I like to add in all energies are transmuted into the frequency. Oh, sorry guys, my of pure love. And so it is. Okay, and then you just hit okay, and it's done. So now every time you run a scan within this session, the frequency of that affirmation will be overlaid and will play. So it is nice to use that. The next thing we have here, this is what the main page will look like. For those of you that are new owners of the Genius and maybe just bought the basic version, or anybody that's using the trial, you're probably only seeing these first three categories: body, biofield, and mind. You do have access to have the custom libraries banner here. In order to get that, you would either have to create your own libraries, purchase libraries, or have another Genius user who is a friend send you libraries that they've created. So it is the same Genius. Everybody uses the same basic model of it. So now I'm just going to hit begin analysis. Okay, so the first thing I do want to do so I don't get distracted is look at your aura so we can get a quick aura picture. You do that by scrolling down to the aura. For you, the Genius has said the mind is the first area of priority for you, then the biofield and the body. Every time those three will be in a different order. The custom libraries will always show up at the bottom. But I'm just going to go to the aura and click on that line. And then we could hit begin analysis. Okay, so we can see an aura here. We do have the ability to hide the avatar so we can actually see what's hidden behind it. And so we see this orange and then some green, pink, purple, blue, and purple, and then a little bit of a gray. Ideally, we want to see bright, vibrant colors. They are the colors of the chakras that we know. However, it will always look somewhat different because of varying tones of each color. So you might see pale versions of it or darker versions of it. Ideally, you want to see the brighter version of it, almost like the neon color of it. That's ideal. And also, ideally, you would like to see one color, but still within having these bands. Most of the time we do see several colors here. The closer it is to one color, the more integrated you are. But I do want to be clear, you do want to see layers, and the more layers is the more expanded you are. So that is a good thing, being more expanded. Here you can see that it's kind of dirty or muddy, just not crisp and clear. That suggests there's stagnant energy or some form of interference. And that's all I'm really going to say about it, because we could spend a lot of time here going over the aura. I do want to switch to the old aura because it does give us some different information. Basically the same. We want bright, vibrant colors, one color the best. The most important thing that I will tell people to look at, especially new users of the Genius, is look for having all four corners filled. That's just really going to tell you if you're grounded or not grounded. So you pretty much are pretty grounded. It's pulling away ever so slightly down here and up top, but for the most part, you are grounded. If you see more gray or no color, it really means that you're not in your body, which you always want to be in your body. So I would always recommend you doing some grounding with the Genius in spiritual protection. There is a line item that is grounding, but you can also go outside and be in nature and do some additional things to help ground you. but that does look pretty good here right now. Okay, so the next thing I just want to review quickly is what the numbers and the colors mean. The Genius uses a numerical value system 0 to 777. Basically, I don't think we've ever seen a 0, so it's really like 1 to 777. But within that range, the 0 to 200 is represented by the color blue. And that range is observed to be chronic energetic disturbances. So you would have those disturbances for a longer period of time. It could also be referred to as stagnant energy. And also sometimes you may hear me say or refer to it as under energy. The next range is from 201 to 450. That's represented by the color green. From there, we go to 451 to 599, and that's represented by the color yellow. And lastly, the top range is from 600 to 777. That is represented by the color red. That is observed to be acute energetic disturbances, meaning that the disturbance is happening now in the present. It is a stress that's happening to you right now, and it could also be referred to as heat or inflammation. I do want to point out that the Genius is not diagnostic in the allopathic sense. Everything that you see here are energetic, is the energetics. So if you went to your physician or Western doctor and said, hey, my vitamins are, a lot of people might say are low because they're blue, I might be deficient. That is not how it works. It's also not how the Genius works, really, because blue does not mean you're deficient in it. It just means that it's been out of balance for a longer period of time. And red, because it's a high number, doesn't mean it's excess of anything. It just means it's high on the scale and that it's out of balance, but that it's out of balance now in the current time. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. You can then see on the left-hand side of each of the panels are arrows, and that's just there to tell you that you can click on the line and it will show you more information. You could either click on the line, on the like double chevron or double arrow there, and it gives you, it shows you what's underneath, but it doesn't have the items color coded. So you can see everything here. I do prefer to click on the line, and here I can see everything color coded. It just makes it easier for me to see what I need to work with right away. Okay, so now that we went over all of that, the first thing I do when I work with someone, or myself for that matter, is I want to work with all of the items in the biofield. Even though for you now, Vincent, it's saying that the mind is what's showing up, it's really important to what we call prime the vessel. So we want to make sure that the foundation is solid. So we want to make sure that the person's energy field or auric field is healthy, because that's going to protect you. So we'll run all the frequencies in there. And then also in the same idea, I pull in the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, because we need the 45 essential minerals and vitamins just for our cells to work efficiently. So we really want to make sure that we're primed and in the best position possible to accept all the other frequencies. If you don't have, I use a custom library that's part of the bioterrain bundle. If you don't have that, again, you could just add everything from the biofield and then into the main hold tray, as well as add your amino acids, vitamins, and minerals. I am going to go to the custom libraries, though, to pull that in for you. So now that they've populated, you just want to hit begin analysis. Okay, so I have a lot of libraries, so don't be concerned that there are a lot of red items here. There's only 777 spots, and I have over 2,000 libraries with a lot of line items in between. So everything needs to find a home on that number scale. If you click on this little tab in the center, it brings down a pretty advanced search bar. I like to go to, on the left, you can see it says master library and all. I usually search the libraries, that would be the library titles. But if you're working with master branch, and that's a little bit for another conversation, but it is in some of the YouTubes if you want more information. But if you have some master branch libraries, this is where you would look to search for them. And all is going to be searching everything. So even down to word items in between. Anyway, we're going to look at the libraries today, and I'm just going to type in bioterrain. And I spelled it wrong. There we go. Okay, so there's 37 panels in the bioterrain. That's why you're seeing bioterrain there so many times. The library that we are looking for, which says begin here, I've tried to make it easy for everybody to see, is the vessel priming frequencies. Now, a little tip, since I always add all the items, which in this panel has 162, I can just click on that line and drag it down. And you'll notice now down in the main whole tray, it says 162 items. I wouldn't necessarily have to go look at them because I know I want to put them all in the main hold tray, which is going to go to Progressive Insights, because they're all so important. And I want to make sure when we're priming the body that you're getting them all. If you don't need them, your body won't take it in. But just in case you were curious, you could click on that line. And now you can see some of the items in here, and the reds and the yellows, and then you go down to the blues. So for you, Vincent, some of these items are things that would be more chronically out of balance for you. But again, I'm just going to go hit the play now on the main hold tray, which brings us to Progressive Insights. And this is where the Genius uses algorithms and the algorithms will resort these items after it's looked at the relationship of all the items. So although you had some, I think in the blue section of the panel that we just looked at, oxygen was showing up blue. Its relationship when with all these other items are together, it may not show up as chronic anymore. Because everything changes when they're interacting with different items. So we can see. Okay, we can just, so here oxygen is showing up in the reds in the highs. Now, the way I use the highs, mediums, and lows in the Progressive Insights is that the high is like similar to the reds before. It's what's stressing you out right now. Medium is that kind of middle place ground, sort of like your mix of your yellows and greens. And the lows, which is showing as green here, is, I view it as similar to the blues, where it's been more chronic. Now, there are other people who have been using the Genius that like to look at highs, medium, lows a little differently. They like to look at that being high priority, medium priority, and low priority. That is okay. Just be clear on your intention of how you want to work with it, and the Genius will work with you that way. I know that sometimes is confusing, but when we are working with the quantum field and entanglement, our intention is very important. So just holding that space on how you want to work with it can be very powerful. So with that said, let's select all so that all of the items are selected. And then I'm going to move the timer to 1 minute. and we can just hit play. When the frequencies are playing, I can't really hear you and you really can't hear me, so I will be quiet. And here we go. Okay, so now if you can just look down at the bottom where the kind of black banner is, there's some information there. Number one, the first place I like to look is what it says for average percent rectification. Now, any percent rectification is a move in the positive direction, so that's always good. What ideally I like to look for is anything 40% and higher. And if it is above 40%, you will get a pop-up here that says, excellent, you've done great. Here in this balancing, you have a 32% rectification. And then I always like to look, after I look at that percent rectification, at harmony, alignment, and energy flow. I don't like the gap between these three items to be greater than 20%. When it becomes greater than 20%, in my experience, it's not as stable. So another energy that passes by could throw it out of balance easier. So the tighter these three numbers are, the more stable in my experience in working with it. So we go from 23 to 40, and that is within the 20%, because you could go up to 43%, and that would be your 20%. So although it's not 40%, it's still within an okay range. We could just run this, put the timer on 0, and maybe run this for 10 seconds and see if that will increase a little bit. Oops. Okay, it didn't go up, and the range went down a little bit. So what I would do at this point is I deselect all of them, and it might be that we need to work with fewer frequencies. So I'm going to just select the low frequencies right now. So when I click the low and it shows up as blue, it means that they've been selected. And I'm going to keep it on 0 minutes, which is means you can run it on 0 minutes. You can run the frequencies until you click anywhere on the screen to stop it. So I'm just going to run those for about 30 seconds. Okay, and we got the little excellent here. So we just click OK, and you can see you have an average percent rectification of 60%. That's excellent. And the range here goes from 54 to 62. So that's really good also. I'm just back out of here for 1 second because I'm curious, because it's sounding a little bit odd to me. So I think I may have adjusted I'm going to go into frequency, shape, and form. And I have it on archetype encoding and 50%, but I'm just going to clear the these tones here. And I'm just going to see what the superconscious select. And it just says calming. Well, let's just see if that has, if the tones are any different there. So I'm just going to go back now to progressive insights. So what I would do now is, after we just ran the lows, we can run the highs. And I deselected the lows, I believe. And again, I'm going to run those for 30 seconds as well. Okay, so we have 31%, and then we go from 21 to 41, so that's within the 20%. Because we're doing a demo on a little bit of a time constraint, I'm not going to try to run that until it gets to 40% or above, but you have it, there's still decent rectifications. 31% is 31%, and you're within that range, so I'm okay with that. So now I'm just gonna go back to the main start page, and I will click on the little arrow that's right next to the main whole page. Now I'm going to hit clear all, but just in case you are here and there's one or two items, maybe you loaded in error or you just want to thin it out a little bit, you can X out any of these items if you just want to take a few things out. Otherwise, you can just hit clear all. And now I like to go to general overview. You get there by clicking on the system overview, and I love the general overview. The general overview, the Genius takes every line item out of their categories and places it in numerical order. This is such a great thing because it allows you to see exactly what's stressing you right now out of, I mean, I have an expansive library, so out of a lot of different frequencies, and you can see where you've had some chronic energetic disturbances. So in energy healing, energy medicine, anything can cause anything. So, you know, just because you may have digestive issues, it could be sacred geometry that's throwing you off. It could be your chakras that's throwing you off. We just don't know. And this is a great way to get to those deep underlying causes. So here we are. And because again, there are so many, I'm not going to scroll through all these pages. If you don't have all these libraries or no libraries at all, you will just have the items from the system page, and you can work with it then, either add the reds and the blues if it's not that much, or just add the blues or just add the reds. I'm going to be working with the libraries and the system overview page. So I am going to click on the plus sign that's just to the left of the main hold tray, and that allows me to add the top 50 items and then the bottom 50. Now we can go up top and click on where it says 0 to 100. And if I click that, it will show me the bottom view. So now I can see everything that's been chronically out of balance for you. So we're seeing bladder meridian 0.49, this one item that says your cervical 1 spinal nerve. It gives the frequency for it and increased circulation to the head, a lymphatic statement, some astral entities from an astral entities library, neurogeneration. So you can see it's just kind of all over the map here with different items that we have. So after you add your plus 50 and bottom 50, and again, that's just my choice. If you wanted to go down and just work with the blues and, you know, singly drag and drop, you're more than welcome to do that. I try to be a little bit more efficient with the time that way. But now I'm going to remove the libraries and add in the top 50 and the bottom 50. And now we can run those items. We're in the progressive insights now, and I'll run a analysis. Okay, so I'm going to select all, move the timer to 1 minute, and now we can select play. Awesome. You did really well here. And before I go into this, I just want to step aside for a second. And Tammy asked a really great question. She said, if you don't have the bioterrain and you want to add in all the biofield vitamins, amino acids, minerals, are you adding all of them or only the reds and blues? So my answer is you add all of them, but I also want you to understand why you're adding all of them. And the reason that I recommend or suggest that you add all of them is because when you get into the progressive insights, there may have been, so some of the yellows and greens that were in the library, when they're added into the progressive insights, they might show up as highs or lows here. So if you didn't add them in, you wouldn't be taking that frequency into your body. And since we want to prime your body, we want to make sure that we're working with all the frequencies that are going to show up when they're in relationship to each other, and making sure that your body is taking them in. So your body is given the opportunity to take it in. Number one, when you select all, and every single frequency will be sent to your body, and then your body will decide if it needs it or if it doesn't. And as well, when you're working with the highs and the lows, it's going to send those frequencies. So I hope that makes more sense to everyone, and especially to you, Tammy, since you asked the question. So, okay, I'm just going to click out of this. You did great. 46% rectification is awesome. And again, well, 37%, we'd really be at like 57%. That's kind of close to being 20%. And again, since I want to work with some other things first, I'm going to back out of here. But if I was running this not in a demo, I might just run the lows or just run the highs and try to get that up a little bit. Just going to empty out this main tray. And so now we can go into our custom libraries. And where did I want to go? You were having, I'm drawing a total, it was, where was your pain again? In your,
It was okay, so I had back pain. It's stenosis of the back. I would say like L5.
okay.
And yeah.
And it was also
And
someplace else though.
oh, I'm sorry, the acid reflux. So the acid reflux is
Oh, right.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Which has been helping, by the way. I wanted to let you know that.
Oh, really? What we've
I've
already
been,
started working on?
yeah, I felt the shift. And what's funny is that a lot of the items that I see there is what I see when I scan myself, particularly vitamin B5. And so since sometimes I have problems digesting fat, I would see that a lot. And that's what like my acid reflux will like be at its most. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's like
So
accurate. Yeah.
that amazing, amazing. And thanks for sharing that. But, and so it also just goes to show, working with what we just worked at without even like kind of focusing on what we think might be there can have such a powerful effect on us healing. So what I definitely want to add in here is digestion. So again, I'm trying to give you guys shortcuts. You could just add the line for digestion, which is kind of like the library title. You can see once I added in that there are 11 items. Any of you work that are already familiar with the Genius know that if I click on the line, it is underneath there. And it's always nice to look at to see what's stressed now or what's more chronically stressed. But if you're working and trying to work quick, it is a nice little shortcut instead of having to go add the reds or the blues or all of them. And again, I like adding all of them in that case because we want that whole channel to be healthy. We have already worked with many of these different reds and blues when we worked in the first two steps that we did. So I'm not concerned that we're overlooking anything here. We might just want to take a look to see what's showing up under today's stress. We can see the liver, kidneys, brain are showing up as being stressed now. And what's showing up as more chronically being stressed is your lymphatic sensitivities, emotional inflammation, and pathogens. So that all kind of makes a little bit of sense on what you spoke about. Emotional, emotional is just so common for a lot of different things, but I'm not going to add those in. I am going to go to, I'm going to go to your emotions and add in the reds and the blues. Now, whenever I see horror show up on the top line, it doesn't necessarily mean that you feel horrified right now, but it could mean, and I see this often, is sometimes we turn on the news or we're scrolling social media and something might, you might be horrified by something that you see quickly. Your brain can't determine between fiction and real life. So it may not be an emotion that you're really feeling right now, but you might have felt it in passing or when you looked at something quick. And for whatever reason, it sort of didn't move straight through you. It kind of took a pause on the way through. So hopefully this is going to give it what it needs so that it could move right on out. It could also be sometimes people in your working with or family or whoever you're living with could have experienced that emotion. And if you're empathic, you could have absorbed it. So there are many different reasons why some emotions might show up here, but may not be reflective in your mind on how you're actually feeling in this moment. I think I did add the blues. And I'm going to add in some Bach flower essences. The emotions and Bach flower essences work really well together. I'm just adding the reds and the blues into the tray. And I'm going to go into my custom libraries and I want to see, I don't know if I have anything specific for reflux. So, and I do. So we can just work with reds and I'm going to add them all. So when you see me talking to myself here, I'm just getting little intuitive gut feelings. So it doesn't make it right or wrong. You can work with these items however you're guided to work with them. Your body's only going to take in what it needs, so you can't make a mistake. Okay, so we have dealt with your reflux, and now let's look at Whoops, I still want those. And I have a library human body structure. So let's see if we can work on your lower back. I'm just, your vertebral column is showing up and it is blue. So I am going to access that, and I will work with the reds and the blues in here. And it's not your hip area, it's more like your spine on the bottom, or is it your hip area?
It's my my doctor, my primary care was saying it was my hip, and then also the new one is my hip, they're saying, and then also it's the long-term one is my back, so my lower back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just see the ligaments here of your back. So let's get those, the reds and the blues.
And I do have history of gastritis, so when I saw that, I said, yeah, it's right on point. I do have my gastroenterologist, they found out that I do have gastritis this year. So
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
those things might affect. So I just want to let you know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The psoas, just as an FYI to everyone, is a muscle that holds a lot of trauma. So it's really good to work on that muscle, especially if you know aware you may have some trauma. Let's get your tendons in here. And I always like to work with the veins because they carry oxygen. And we need the oxygen. So now I'm going to go from here and I'm just going to put in pain and work with these pain frequencies. We're already over 200, but I'm going to add them so it's in one container and then we can work with it in segments. Okay, I'm just going to run all of them. There's that gastritis up there. So let's play all of these for 1 minute. Okay, so we're at 24%. We did have a lot of frequencies there. So this is where I'm gonna deselect all. Let's just work with the highs first. We're gonna move this to 0 and we'll listen to those for 30 seconds. did much better here, 41%. Again, slightly greater than that 20%, but given that it's a demo, we're gonna let that slide today. I'm gonna deselect the high, select the low, and now do the same thing. We can run those for 30 seconds. Good work. You did excellent here, 52%, and it's nice and tight in there. So if you want to just check in and see how you're feeling, how your overall emotional stress feels, how we already know your reflux feels a little bit better, your back.
Okay, I have the floor now. Okay,
You have the
sorry.
floor.
The acid reflux I would say now is down to like a 2 or 1. So
Oh,
like
amazing.
yeah. So now it's kind of down, and I kind of expected that because also based on what I saw. But um, as far as the issues I saw, like the horror and things like that, yeah, there's issues going on in the family. Like it's kind of like it's taxing, and there's someone that's like in need of help, and so I can get that part. I understand that. I do feel just a little bit lighter, maybe, a little bit de-stressed. I know sometimes I can feel tense in the head, and I don't feel that tension right now. So, yeah, so I feel better than how I started.
Great. And anything with your back? I forget if you were saying that maybe it wasn't bothering you today, so that's a hard gauge.
So my back, how can I say? So I know during the session I felt something on the lower right, like I don't know, it felt like something was kind of filling in. Maybe I just felt like my bone kind of shifted a little bit, which I've noticed sometimes when I do sessions. To me, I kind of interpret that as like maybe bone is filling in, or maybe uh, I don't know, nerves. I don't know how to
Strengthening,
even.
maybe like the ligaments that hold it in place are
Mhm.
getting
Yeah, are
well,
getting
that's great.
yeah. So yeah, so I felt. I mean, there's no denying that the genius is amazing. So I always feel something. So yeah, this is yeah. So thank you so much. And I'm still on the edge of getting the bioterrain because right now I'm doing Ariel Policano's practitioner course. But
Mhm.
like I'm so much like I'm like after this I want to definitely do the bioterrain.
Oh,
I'm like
well, you'll love it. It's really, I've when I curated it, tried to be on more on the way of a functional approach versus really narrowed view. So it works with so many things at one time. So
and I love
hopefully
it. I love it, especially for the COVID issue. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that right now, but
you
like,
can say that word. You may not be able to say other things, but I think that's a pretty standard word that you could use.
okay. I just want to be able to learn how to, I mean, I don't know if you have knowledge in like how to maybe like lessen the effects or prevent it, because also I want to do that for my family now that COVID is kind of hitting hard here, so.
I would start with and use a lot of, there are some libraries that you can look at, and you could always email me. I can help you with that. But also work with the general overview, because again, there are a lot of things that may be underlying causes that you may not think for that stuff. But before we um, end today's session, I just want to see what your after oral picture looks like. Okay, so we see some pink in the center. It's still like fuzzy, so there's still stuff that you need to work on, and that may be, some interference and emotions and stuff that's coming through. Um, Probably it wouldn't hurt just based on looking at this. We don't have time right now, but I would run grounding, maybe just run that one frequency. If you have any of, I don't know if you have the Alaskan
I,
ice with the
I,
gem.
yeah, I do.
I would use that to help ground you and bring you back in. We ran a lot of frequencies today, and often I see that when you run a lot, sometimes you just need to like bring them in and let them settle, and you might even feel more shifts after they do settle in. So that would be
Okay.
my recommendation for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely.
Well,
I will implement that. Thank you so much for the session. It was amazing. Thank you.
you're welcome. I really appreciate you volunteering. And anyone else, if you have any questions or anything that you would like me to work on in some of the weeks ahead, please feel free to email me at Denise@Inside Health Apps. I always love all your recommendations and what you'd like to work on so we can help you and you can get the best results from your genius. So thank you everyone again for coming. It's a pleasure. And until next week, bye-bye. And thank you, Claire, for your help as always. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye-bye. Bye, Vincent.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you,
You're
Denise.
welcome.